once we made the decision to say, no more retail, then we could price our product the way we wanted to price our product and do a sale when we wanted to do a sale, give money back guarantees to people and free trials to people. You can't do that when you're on the shelf.
Hey, my name is Felix Tia, and I'm the host of Shopify Masters, a weekly podcast powered by Shopify, the easiest way to sell online, in person, and anywhere in between. Each week, we invite entrepreneurs like you to share what they've learned growing successful e-commerce businesses. In this episode, you'll learn the most useful insights from transitioning from brick and mortar to e-commerce, how climate change played a role in the growth of this business, and the two most important type of people to talk to before developing new products. Before we get into our show, I want to share a strategy some businesses are using to help manage cash flow during COVID-19. They're selling gift cards. Gift cards give customers a way to support you right now. We've seen some creative ways to market them, like selling gift cards at a discount, giving special offers for customers who redeem them in the future, and adding free gift cards to high-value carts as a bonus. As part of Shopify's response to COVID-19, gift cards are now available on all Shopify plans, so you can start selling them right away. For more information, visit shopify.com/giftcard. Today, I'm joined by Jonathan Proper from Drops. Drops harnesses the power of nature to create laundry detergent pods and other household cleaning products, and was started in 1992 and based out of Chicago. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you. So great to be here. I'm so excited to spend some time with you, and you've developed such an incredible following and podcast, and I'm truly honored to be part of it. So thank you again for reaching out and including Drops.
For sure, yeah. And, one thing that we were just talking right off air about was that 1992 as a start date for a business is pretty old in this kind of world of lots of businesses kind of propping up online. And you obviously started in a much different world back then. So tell us more about that. What was the world like back then? And kind of walk us maybe high level through the big either inflection points or evolutions of the business as the world went more online and e-commerce went kind of kicked into full gear.
Yeah, sure. So I'll try and give you the Cliff Note version, if you will. We did have phones in 1992, but not that many cell phones in those days, or the cell phones were, the size of bananas. But in any case, we were just a detergent in a bottle. We were a concentrated detergent, so we always cared about, not shipping water all over the country because, as we say, the water's in the washer. So the only thing you need to bring to the washer is what's going to clean your clothes. And because our product was so concentrated and at that time also plant-based ingredients, we sold it only with where apparel was sold. So sort of like shoe polish with shoes. It was a product for machine washing and drying cotton sweaters. And it's actually the parent name called Cotton Wash. And then, so the company, continued to grow over the years, but still it was a modest company. Basically, its sales came in through an 800 number to the consumer. There was no website really to speak of. It was, it was very hard to develop websites that had e-commerce in those days. And but then in around 2006, we developed the liquid laundry pod. And that was just an additional extension from this concentrated detergent we had. We had an insight that consumers loved our product, but they hated measuring and pouring it. And so we said, we came across a technology for putting liquid in a dissolvable pouch, and it's a patented technology. We bought the patent, and then it was time to rebrand it. And the rebranding was Drops. And Drops is an acronym, actually, dissolvable, ready-to-use, organic, pre-measured pod. But some people just thought it was, my last name is Proper, and some people call me Props, and they just thought it was a dyslexic version of Props. The D was just inverted to make Drops. But actually, it's quite more than that. And then, fortunately, it is it is a verb and it is a noun, and so it's had a lot of benefits as a brand. In the early years, since we were the first to develop the liquid unit dose laundry pod, it made sense for us to go retail. And it's sort of like when you went down a laundry detergent aisle, it's just row after row, bottle after bottle. I call those bottles the most expensive bottle of water you can buy. And we thought that by having a pod, we would be, like the Apple on the shelf. It's all PCs, and what's the price of the PCs, and then there's Apple. And Drops was that way to some degree. But one of the things that we found out as a small player in a big person's world is the system is somewhat rigged, and in terms of getting the position on your shelf that you want, it's not that easy. You rather get put on the bottom or the top of the shelf, and so the person who's driving around in the cart, who really, is somewhat of a burden to carry a heavy jug around, can't even reach your product because it's on the top shelf. And so then we had in 2012, Big Laundry, as I call it, they came out with their version of the liquid laundry pod. And with that, the company now had competition on the shelf, but competition is good to a certain degree because it actually makes the market potentially larger. And so, if you have two people going after the same thing, Coke and Pepsi, you overall make a much larger soda market than if it was just Coke by themselves. And so, in any cases, part of that, we had some litigation, and we sort of had to fight through that. And then we come out around 2016, and we're now being really sort of beaten up on the shelf. And we say, well, we have the most concentrated laundry pod out there. The consumers learn quite well how to buy product online. And we get the benefit of companies like Dollar Shave Club and Harry's that taught people how to buy on subscription. And at that point, we didn't have to educate people about pods because we knew we had the best pod out there from the standpoint of it's the most powerful. It's based on plant-based ingredients, and has high efficacy in terms of cleaning. And we don't put all that stuff in it like color, because color doesn't clean. And it's also the most efficient because it's 9 grams versus the other 20 to 25 gram pods. So that gives us a shipping advantage in terms of delivering to the customer. And then you look around and in terms of developing a website, and there's some really expensive solutions out there, but then there's some that are reasonable and easy to use, and that's Shopify. And I really say that Shopify saved our business because at that point it delivered us a good way of putting all of our products on our shelf rather than someone else's shelf, and displaying our products in the way we wanted to display those products. And we felt we needed to do a anthem video to drive the consumer to the Drops page. And we thought what we did was quite successful. And since that time, we've had 19 straight quarters of growth. And the applications that Shopify has that go around the basic platform in terms of Klaviyo and Stamp.io, Recharge, are terrific and integrate so well with the platform. And Shopify today, is the foundation. We talked about content. All of our content, that's the base of the tree from which Instagram content goes, and TikTok content goes, and YouTube. So it's just an amazing platform. And as I say, it's been the key to our business and our business growth, and a business model that really works. And as someone who's starting a business or thinking about starting a business or putting their products online, you can't get any product out there that's more user-friendly and more cost-effective than Shopify. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, I guess, but it tastes real good.
Great way of putting it. So thank you. Appreciate that kind of overview. And I want to dive into pieces of this. And, the journey really begins where you were kind of just, you had to try to survive in the world that existed, which was a lot of big retail, you should call it, that the system was rigged against you. Is this how the world still works today? Like, what's your observation about this for people that are introducing a new product into the marketplace and either by choice or maybe involuntarily has to go through retail, brick and mortar retail? Will they face the same kind of challenges that you think you faced early on?
Absolutely. And it's even more competitive today. And the reason it's more competitive today is because, as I say, every day someone dies, a retail store is closed, and every day someone's born, you have a new internet shopper. And so that shelf is with shrinking sales coming out from traditional bricks and mortar. There's more it just makes it a more competitive space. And I tell the story. When you sell a big retailer, you deliver pallets to one of their DCs or warehouses, and from that warehouse they distribute to anywhere between 15 and 20 of their stores. And so going to the buyer, we're going to, one truckload of our product equals 3 truckloads of theirs. Which would you rather distribute? I'd rather distribute your product. Okay. And I'm going to give you, 30 points, and they're giving you, 12 to 13. Which would you rather sell? Well, I'd rather sell your product. So, well, then why don't you, put me sort of, or at least eye level, so someone could actually find us? No, we can't do that. And why can it? Because Big Laundry will take all their product out of the store if we do. So they're so dependent on those big brands who are doing national advertising to drive people into the store that it's really hard for the little guy to have a chance. But in cyberspace, it's a more equal playing field. The digital space is a much more equal playing field, and you can also tell your story. You walk down a shelf in a retail store with it's a split second. You're right. Especially, you may linger a little bit in the vegetable aisle, but when it comes to the sort of house, how much time are you spending looking at toilet paper, right, and figuring out what you want to buy? If you find something you like, you stick with it, and you might as well just have it delivered rather than spend the time and the effort to go to a store to get it. So what I say to any entrepreneur is be successful in one distribution first. Don't try multiple distributions until you really licked one. And probably the one that's easiest to lick is the digital one, because you are able to really present yourself in a way that you can tell your story. And it's hard to tell your story in a big box retailer.
So again, we had mentioned at the top of this interview that you started business in 1992. When was the transition online? When did you start selling? Maybe not most of your sales, but when did you start making the transition to offering your products online?
We started selling them actually as early as 2006, right? With a very, like Cro-Magnon Man kind of website, an ecommerce site, if you will. But it was just it wasn't subscription based at all, and it was really just a stepchild because we were in all these retailers, and therefore we didn't want to be in competition with those stores. Once we made the decision to say, no more retail, then we could price our product the way we wanted to price our product and do a sale when we wanted to do a sale, give money back guarantees to people and free trials to people. You can't do that when you're on the shelf, or you'll have retailers upset at you that you're doing these things online and not giving them those same benefits. So once you exit, it's very you feel very free. I mean, it was a big decision, because you lose a lot of sales initially, but as I say, it didn't stop us from growing every quarter since. So clearly it was the right move, and Shopify has, as we've grown, it's continued to stay relevant, very relevant for us, and we've moved to Shopify Plus, and that's fantastic. It gives us a dedicated person to work with us and work through any kinds of issues we may have. So, and with some of the applications that we have, the added cost of Shopify Plus is mitigated by the reduction in cost in some of those applications. So you get the benefit without getting the cost, and so it's been terrific for us.
Yeah, so during this transition to online, you mentioned how freeing it was, but there's still a cost to it because there's a distribution channel that you're either removing yourself from completely or just transitioning your focus off of. Was there anything that you learned through this process for anyone else that might want to do this transition as well, where their main distribution channel is through brick and mortar retail and now want to start selling more and shifting over to online? Like, what have you learned? What did you learn during that period?
I guess what I learned is if you're in both channels of distribution, you just have to be very cognizant of your pricing, because there's and how one price change or one sale affects everything else. And so to the extent you can are very clear in understanding what's going on in terms of pricing, so that you are not creating a competitor in the retailer, but you're doing it in such a way that they remain good partners for you.
That makes sense. Now I want to talk a little bit about competition. You had mentioned that that competition is good. It makes the market larger. Can you talk more about that? I think there's always this concern for maybe newer entrepreneurs where they're either are hesitant to go into an industry that already has established large competitors, or they're worried about a competitor in the space all of a sudden kind of rearing their head and trying to create same products that they're creating, similar to the experience that you went through. Talk to us about that. Like, what is your kind of relationship with competition when you start seeing it appear?
Well, first of all, recommend to people to go into large categories, right? Because there's always niches in large categories, and also go into categories that are growing, because categories that are growing are like you're likely to expand with that growth. And competition. The competition should always look at, in my view, the big picture, what the big market is, and not what the small market is. There may be some eco-friendly products out there, or plant-based products out there that think we're the competitor, and I say to those folks, we're not the competitor. The big laundry's our competitor. And that otherwise it's just two bald people fighting over a comb. There's no point in going after each other when there's so much opportunity, and the consumer is always looking for more efficient, better sustainable solutions, looking for convenience. And as long as you're delivering that to the consumer, especially, the consumer is very concerned about sustainability, very concerned about what's going back into the earth. And if you can give the consumer solutions that make it easy for them. One of the problems with a plastic container of laundry detergent is the cap has a different recycle than the bottle. And then you're shipping all this water around, as I said before, that goes in a machine that has water in it. And the consumer then empties that thing, and then they say, well, what do I do with it? Because one recycles one way, the other recycles another way, and, just becomes, you sort of give up. And that's why, almost 80+% of products aren't really recycled, because, the consumer is just sort of wants to do the right thing, but it's difficult. Now we deliver to the consumer in a cardboard box that's compostable, so they don't have to think about it. They can either go in the trash or they can put a plant in it and in the garden. And so that's it. And that it's there's no residue. There's nothing left over when you finish a box of drops because it's all pre-measured packets, and then the liquid in the packet completely dissolves. So you made it convenient for the consumer to use. You also made it convenient for them to do the right thing, so that every drop can count towards saving water, saving plastic, as well as time, energy, because you can use it in cold water, all these things. And so giving the consumer, making it easy for the consumer will always win out.
Mm. Yeah, and you mentioned to us too about how over the years the impact of climate change became more visible, and then as a result, consumer behavior started shifting to more of these eco-friendly options, sustainability. And has that always been I guess when you first started in 1992, it sounds like, at least back then, it just wasn't top of mind, and today it's very top of mind. Talk to us about how this played a role in the growth of your business, the shift in, actually, maybe to start, like, what was it like back in 1992? Did people care about this kind of stuff back then? Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the show, please leave us a review on iTunes to let us know what you think or what you'd like to hear more of. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Well, we cared about it back then. I mean, that's why our actual detergent at the time, cotton wash, was twice as concentrated as the other products out there. We since we were selling in a venue where you had someone helping you sell. In other words, the sweater was being sold, and then you want this sweater to look as good as it does today. 3 months from now, use this product. That they could then educate the consumer that you only need, an ounce of this product rather than 2 to 3 ounces, which was the traditional laundry detergent at that time. So we always had plants as a component to our formula, and of course it's just become predominant now, and we use more enzymes now, which are natural enzymes in terms of getting real cleaning efficacy. And so we had that DNA, and part of that DNA, just I'm embarrassed to say, I was at the first Earth Day, which was 50 years ago in Philadelphia. It was a beautiful day. Sat on the hill in Fairmount Park on Belmont Hill. Politicians, Republicans, Democrats, all celebrating this glorious park and day, and preserving, sort of the kickoff to preserving the environment, if you will. And there was no red state, blue state. There was Republicans and Democrats all for Mother Earth, if you will, or person Earth today. And so it is sort of in our company's DNA. And sustainability is not an end state; it's a journey, and it's sort of like infinity. You never reach it, but you keep working at it and improving at it. And if you can with each iteration, if you make it better, then it's better. And so, yes, to your point, it wasn't as prevalent back then. It's something that sort of has really gained momentum, and gained momentum with your generation more than necessarily my generation. But my generation its legacy, it wants to leave a good place for its children and grandchildren. So, it has that importance, and that, seeing what's been happening with our environment in terms of fires and weather and everything else, something's causing it, that's for sure. And if we can do things to mitigate those causes, we'll be around a long time.
Were you surprised by this shift? Like it's happened basically during the lifetime of your business. Were you surprised by the growth of the awareness?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly accelerated. It's funny because we did a video called "The Naked Truth About Laundry," and that idea a little bit came from uh, the movie "The Naked Truth" that was put out about the environment. So, uh, but it is, what was sort of a footnote in the news is now, headline because it's affecting us, until, unfortunately people may have talked about it 20 years ago, but they didn't necessarily consider it a threat. But once your forests and your homes start burning down or your floods, all of a sudden it becomes real, which is unfortunate. It takes catastrophic events to get people to change.
When this was happening, there's a shift in this consumer behavior. Was there any education that you had to be involved in to explain why your product, your company was on the side of sustainability?
Well, it's really just first of all, it's just practical, right? We're not judgmental, because there's obviously things we do wrong. There's other things to do wrong in my probably personal life that aren't as, someone will say that's not the most sustainable way to do things. But if we all, do something, or if we're all at least conscious of it, then it will get better, and there will be improvement. I think today it's just very much a part of everyone's conversation.
Yeah, whenever I speak to brands and companies that are focused on sustainability, there's this kind of this theme of greenwashing that's involved, where a lot of their messaging is drowned out by larger corporations that might be talking about sustainability but don't actually represent it as truthfully as they're probably saying it. Has this become a challenge where, again, back to the education piece, I think one important thing you said was that you're not judgmental about it, and it's just kind of about incremental progress in the kind of right direction. Do you face any kind of skepticism when you have a business like this, because there's just so much more? It's a trendier, I guess, topic or angle for a lot of businesses to focus on.
The way I've thought about it is that cleaning efficacy and sustainability are not mutually exclusive. At the end of the day, we have to perform as a product. We have to clean your laundry and clean your dishes. And if we're not doing that really well, then it doesn't, for the consumer, it doesn't matter how sort of sustainable you are. But today, fortunately, we have ingredients and tools that are more sustainable and can make better products. And so, and they may cost a little bit more, but if you use enough of them, they'll then become more mainstream, and those prices will eventually go down because of the volume that's involved in and the fact that the consumer is drawn towards those type of products. But again, to your point, we're just trying to show how we do it and how we think it might be, a way of saving water or saving energy or avoiding the use of bottles that take, a week or two to use, but a lifetime to degrade, eliminating those things from our product mix for things that people use every day, so that we're not trying to give as little or no waste after using our product to the consumer. And it's just, as I say, it's just giving them the tools. If they find if there are better tools out there, we're going to look for those. Again, it's got to work, and then it has to be in a way that it's not changing, dramatically changing consumers' behavior. You're leading them incrementally rather than trying to hit them over ahead with some sort of new way of doing things. So the old way that they're doing things, you can give them a path that's easier than the old way, and then if it's somehow using less water or less energy, I mean those are all that may not be environmentally conscious, but your water bill's lower or your energy bill's lower, and that's equally important to the consumer.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point about how, as new again sustainability focused businesses pop up, it's still important to know that feature of sustainability is still often secondary, even though maybe close in the second place to the efficacy and the convenience of the product. The usefulness of the product is still, for the most part, the most important thing to get right, and then the sustainability aspect of it is a really, really great bonus. Is that the way that you've seen consumers behave towards products that have this kind of sustainability baked into it?
I think so. I think, there are people who are driven just by the sustainability message, but that may create trial, but it doesn't necessarily create repeat with the consumer, because, they're going to be frustrated if it doesn't work well, right? And they're going to say, well, it's not clean, so I'm going back. So I think, as I say, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. You just have to spend a little bit more time and a little bit more money to develop something that's better, but you'll be rewarded for it.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. Talk about that, the product development, and we kind of hinted or talked briefly about the evolution of the different products that you're introducing. Talk to us about how you and your team develop new products a day. Like, where does it begin, and walk us through the process of developing product from the beginning all the way to putting it in the market.
Well, yeah. Well, one of the things, in any business, talking to your suppliers and talking to your customers are really important. Listening to both. Listening to what they, like, not only about your product, but other products, suppliers, about what's the latest in terms of technology that might be out there. Now, in terms of we have in a Chicago facility a full laboratory, banks of washing machines, automatic dishwashers, all to develop test product over and over again, because it's not, we want to make sure what we're passing on to the consumer meets our guidelines in terms of cleaning as well or better than the leading brand in a category, and having a much better chemical formula profile, ingredient profile, as well as reduced packaging. So all of those things are entered into the design process of developing a product. And it's funny because the bulk of our business is in laundry pods, and that's both the detergent for skin sensitive and for stain and odor, and then our latest entry is activewear, because of all this active apparel takes on odors that we call a permastink, that's hard to eliminate. And then the accessory products, whether they're boosters for oxy boosters or softeners, all of those products go through rigorous kind of testing and development. And for example, our softener is very different than another company's softener. Our softener actually softens the fabric rather than leaves a slick coating on the fabric, and that's why towels over a period of time sometimes bead water off of them. Our softener actually allows them to still absorb water. So all of this is just it's investing in ingredients and products and packaging that through insights from the consumer and from your suppliers to develop better solutions. And what's sort of interesting is that the two main areas are this laundry and then automatic dishwasher. And so, they're both machines. So, a lot of household products aren't being put into a machine, but our two main products are being put into a machine. So we say, if your clothes aren't clean or your dishes aren't clean, you probably need a new machine. It's not our product. But a lot of people think that at first, because I've got $1,000 invested in my machine and it's not clean, it's obviously the product. But in our case, we know it's the machine.
Yeah, that's important. Maybe a side that I think is worth covering is around educate, because you have so many different products that you're releasing. Is there any aspect around educating users on how to use your products effectively?
No question, and that's why the Shopify platform is quite good, because it becomes the big content is everything, and developing content, and developing videos, and how-to videos. And because consumers really love how-to videos, they're on the go, they're on their phones. A lot of times, it's very easy to watch, a short 30 to 15 to a minute video on for example, one of the most open rate items for us is how to wash a baseball cap in a dishwasher rather than a washing machine. People are fascinated by that, because the temperature of a dishwasher gets much hotter than a washing machine, and therefore, and your hat takes on a lot of bacteria when it's worn several days in a row. So content videos, which then work off the Shopify platform and then go into TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, all are really important for the consumer. That's what brings them back to the brand. That's how we can distinguish ourselves from a typical retailer. We'll tell you how to take care of a cashmere sweater, whereas as opposed to some bot answering your inquiry, and all of which are part of developing a story, developing a brand, but the how-tos in all categories, are really just eaten up by the consumer. They love them all.
Yeah, and we kind of talk about this from, at least when I asked the question, it was coming from a perspective of an existing customer, and I just Googled how to wash a baseball hat now, and the blog page that you guys have is ranked very high. Is that also a source of new customers? People just searching for how to solve a particular problem that might not be a customer of yours yet, find an article like this and all of a sudden become a customer?
Yeah, no question. So it's a problem. It's solving a problem on Google. We are also on the Amazon platform. In a lot of cases, people search products on Amazon, but they search product problems on Google, or people on Google. And so, yes, it's what very much drives people to the Shopify or the Drops website.
Yeah, and is this kind of content, like the example of how to wash baseball hats, is that content obvious for you and the team, or where does the source or the idea behind what kind of content to create, what kind of problems your customers are facing that your product could solve for them? Is it easy to come up with that kind of content?
I don't know. So, like, one of the great we put out there, which was sort of fun, the great controversy on how to load a dishwasher. Right? They're the forks up or the forks down, or they together, or it's just sort of you if you talk to a bunch of people and you hear sort of the things that are, they not fight about, but, they tease each other about, and those become, those help drive content, or you get a lot of customers come to you and they, with a problem. And when you see a number of the same problems coming, you then want to develop content solutions for them.
Yeah, and are these typically just your customers reaching out to you and the team asking these kind of questions? Like where would you, if a listener out there wants to start creating content like this, like where do you think is the biggest kind of trove of problems to find, to solve with content?
Well, I think a lot of people, I think they go to YouTube for content solutions in a lot of cases. Don't you feel that way?
Yeah, I think so. And do you have a presence there too, creating YouTube content?
Yeah, both on our own videos, and then some of our partner influencers who've developed videos on YouTube. And what's good thing about YouTube is it's it's there for a long time. And whereas an ad on Instagram or TikTok, they sort of come and then they go. And so I think it is, as a platform for education, it may not be as quite effective in the initial performance marketing, but it has a longer tail to it. And that's why it's important for all. I would recommend all people on Shopify creating content that will sit on YouTube, and that over time will get watched.
Yeah. And you talk about partner influencers here, and you also mentioned earlier about how the content, it sounds like it gets repurposed for Instagram or TikTok. Talk to us about that. When you create a kind of a core piece of content, a how-to video or something, how does it then make it onto Instagram or TikTok? Is it changed for the format that people might expect on Instagram or TikTok? How do you make sure that you're creating the content in the kind of right, maybe context or right format for the platform? Yeah,
well, it does have to be in a form that the viewer can watch it, but the basis of it is a blog, and the blog, which is hosted on the Shopify platform. As I say, that's the base of the tree from which all the branches grow in terms of social media. So Shopify has really created this great sturdy base from which to send out all this information. And yes, it has to be in different formats for the different venues or channels, if you will, but it all comes from the Shopify blog.
Mm. Yeah, one thing that I actually spoke very recently to another entrepreneur about is around content that goes on TikTok. And one thing that they were surprised about was that how willing the users on TikTok were to consume educational information, like how to, I think is a good example of that. Have you noticed that too? Like what kind of content seems to work well for TikTok in your industry, in your experience?
Yeah, education. Obviously there's all sorts of different categories, but 15-second information pieces on TikTok, very effective. And it's not something you get it right away, but you just have to be prolific at it. It's sort of it's a lot that's short, and it's a little bit spaghetti against the wall. But certain things will stick, and over time, it will stick in the mind of the consumer that this is information coming from a source that knows about this category, or knows about these products, or knows about my problems as they relate to activewear, or getting my white sheets really white, or things like that.
Yeah, and one thing that I think a lot of brands are attempting to be sensitive about when it comes to TikTok is not to be overly pushy with the kind of product or a call to action. What's your experience there? Like, how do you provide this education, this valuable content, but then at the end of the day, the goal is still to get a first time buyer or a repeat buyer from that experience. Like, how do you balance the two?
Yeah, it's the there's really not as much call to action with TikTok. It's more awareness and information, um, uh, because it's at the moment, but it may become more. It's not particularly a transactional platform, but more people using it, and if they like certain information, they want to be able to buy it right away. So they probably will over time develop more of that direction. But at the moment, it's just getting the message out quickly in a fun way.
Yeah, and one other thing that I've noticed too when I'm just was browsing through your Instagram was this kind of use of almost like maybe like infographics where it's like educational, but it's I guess laid out and I can't think of a better term than in an infographic. Has that also been effective on Instagram, or what works best on that platform?
Yeah, I think people are visual, but they also need words, and so or people learn. Everyone learns differently. Some people, learn by just aren't looking at their phones and are just listening. Other people are looking at their phones and it's the images that educate them. So I think you need to have, you just need to display the same information in different ways so that you're including everybody in that process or journey.
And we've been talking about the kind of tools that you use outside of your website. And you had mentioned earlier some tools that you use for your website for the back end of your business. You mentioned Recharge, probably for the subscription service that you provide. You mentioned Stamp.io for reviews. Are there any other kind of apps that you rely on heavily that have been really impactful for your business?
Yeah, Klaviyo on the email chain, and then Shopify Plus Flow, which gets us, to test various things at checkout, without being live. I would say those are most, the apps that we're using most.
Yeah, and any kind of changes or iterations that you've made to the website that have made a big impact, whether it's using apps or not, like any changes that you have implemented or tested that have led to either greater either retention time or actual sales?
Every 3 months or every some period of time, you need to do an audit of your website. You may have some apps that are running on the website that may be slowing your website down. Speed is really important for the consumer, in terms of pages that may be loading or things like that. So, secondly, tools that, can allow, maybe upselling or cross-selling at checkout. These are also important features for that process in terms of purchasing product. I'd say that's pretty much. But the importance of making sure that the apps that you're using are integrated into your business are not affecting your speeds in terms of delivering pages to the consumer, both and measuring what it is both on the phone and on desktop.
Makes sense. So drops.com, DROPPS.com is the website. And I'll leave you with this last question. What do you think is going to be, or what is the kind of biggest challenge that you or the business is focused on solving over the next year of the business?
Well, the change of iOS has certainly impacted all direct-to-consumer companies in their ability to do performance marketing as efficiently as they once did. But necessity becomes the mother of invention, and therefore you have to look for other. Everyone's sort of experiencing that same thing. So look for other ways to reach the consumer and with your content, with your messages. And so I would say that's the greatest, that event this year has posed one of the greatest challenges.
Makes sense. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time, Jonathan. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story, your experience, and your advice.
It was my pleasure, Felix. It really was wonderful to spend some time with you and talk to you and try and answer your very probing questions, and always makes you think about your business that much more in a deeper context. So I appreciate your reaching out in this way to have us tell the story, but also have us think about our business and what we're doing going forward.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Shopify Masters, the e-commerce podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs powered by Shopify.